Well, hello there, and welcome back to part 2 of our Blender character tutorial. As you can see here, I have retopologized the body and the head in between episodes, and here I'm connecting the hands and the feet to the rest of the body. I subdivided the hands. Make sure that when you're connecting two objects like this with the loop tools, make sure that the number of edges is equal in both objects, and then loop tools will be able to properly connect it up. So there, I just flipped the normals because they were inverted for some reason. I cleared the facets, and now I'm just smoothing out this area in between. Now right there, I used a different method of masking the mesh, which is the Shift A method. Basically, you just press Shift A and then you drag with your mouse, and it just automatically masks where you want it to be. And then you can press Ctrl I to invert the mask. Now that we have some time to talk, now some of you might be wondering, wait, why don't you show us how you retopologize the body and the face? Well, the thing is, I already showed you guys how to do that in the previous tutorial series. You can just go to my channel, and it's the second video that I posted. And pretty much the method has stayed the same. And when I say the same, I mean absolutely the same. You can watch that video and see how I do things, because the actual topology is literally the same. Alternatively, you can also watch Danny Mac's head and body retopology tutorials, because that's exactly what I used to create the previous character and this character. So here I'm just adjusting some topology here around the legs so that I have enough edges to combine the feet with the rest of the body. So you go into edge mode, you select the loop at the top and the bottom, you right click, and then you go into loop tools and you just bridge it together. That's the loop tools add-on. Afterwards, you go into sculpt mode, get rid of the facets, and just, move things around, make them look good. Because right now, as you can see here, the legs don't really look good. There's this like rough transition, but I'll fix that in just a couple of minutes. People often ask me, why do we retopologize? What's the deal with the retopology? Do we have to do it? Well, it really depends what you want. If you want to do animations, or if you want your character to be like a game asset, then you have to retopologize, because rigging a sculpted model is pretty much a nightmare. So retopology is necessary. Now, if you're wondering, well, I don't like retopology, is there any way to bypass this? Well, yes, you can either use add-ons like Body Mesher, which automatically retopologizes meshes for you, or you can just model a low poly model from scratch. That way, you bypass retopology, you just already have a low poly model already there for you. So now we're going to work on the eyelashes and eyebrows. First up, I start with a regular plane, add a mirror, subdivision, shrink wrap, solidify. That's the classic combo. And then I go at the very top, enable snap mode. So I can snap the vertices on top of the head mesh. Here I'm pressing Ctrl right click to extrude where my mouse is pointing. Adjusting the thickness of the brows to make it a little bit less thick. Now we're going to work on the eyelashes. So the way I make eyelashes is using curves. I used to use planes, but then I found out that curves also look really nice. So I'm going to add a mirror modifier and edge split. For those who are wondering why edge split, well, edge split is going to allow us to kind of trick the curve into being shaded flat, not shaded smooth, but shaded flat. You'll see it here in just a second. So I'm just going to add a little bit of thickness to it. Change the resolution down to 3. Now here I'm just pressing Alt-S to scale individual vertices to be thicker or thinner. Obviously the ones at the end, I just pressed Alt-S and then just typed in 0 to make them very small. You can also see here that the actual curve itself is kind of like shaded flat. There I just duplicated the curve to add the lower eyelash. You can always select multiple curves at once and just manipulate them together. So once again, that's Alt-S to scale the thickness of individual points. If you press S while you have one curve selected, nothing will happen. So it has to be Alt-S. So after fiddling around, I ended up with that shape right there, as you can see here. So here I just deleted all those other curves because I only need 3 of them for this. This is going to be kind of like individual eyelashes. I'm going to place a couple of them, not too many, because this is going to be like a stylistic portrayal. Obviously, if you're going for that more realistic style, you might want to use like particle hair and add a bunch of like eyelash strands. So I just made it a little bit, small, thin, add a couple of those here and there. So we just duplicate this guy and then add the top row of eyelashes. You don't have to add these little dudes. You can just keep the big eyelashes there only, and that's gonna look good as well. What's cool about this process is that you can also convert this curve into a mesh and then go into sculpt mode and just give it a little bit more detail if you want to later down the line. So now we're going to start working on the hair. grab the sphere. I'm going to actually sculpt this sphere into a rough shape of the hair. Now, if you're wondering, like, okay, so you're gonna sculpt the hair? Well, no, not really. We're gonna sculpt like a rough shape, and then we're gonna grab some curves, and then use the sculpted mesh as like a guide where we're gonna place those curves. So after sculpting it a little bit, I subdivide it, and now I'm gonna start smoothing it out and just, moving things around into the correct shape. You don't have to spend too much time, making it look good. You just need a rough guide where to place the curves later down the line. So here I'm just working on the front part a little bit for the bangs. Snake hook tool to kind of just visualize the hair. So at this point, we can start working with the actual curves themselves. First, we're going to grab a circle curve. We're going to rotate it a little bit. Then we're going to go into individual origins, scale them down, go back to medium point, scale along the Y to kind of get this rectangle shape. Then we're going to subdivide it a couple of times, and we're going to create these like two mountains, I guess. And the reason why we're creating this circle shape is that this is going to represent our actual hair shape, and you'll see that in just a second. So now we're going to grab a path. Then we're going to go into the settings here. I'm going to lower the resolution for both of them down to 6 so we can save some density, because we don't really need the hair to be super, high poly. I'm just changing the name here to be the hair shape for the circle. Now, as you can see here, I'm going to show you guys how to see the tip and the root of the hair. So you see how these arrows are pointing? They're pointing towards the tip. So yeah, but as you can also see here that the hair itself actually has the shape of that circle that we made originally. So here I'm just pressing Alt S to scale it down, to make it less thick. I extrude here by pressing E, giving it a mirror. Now, originally I was planning to make this hair kind of dense with a lot of strands, with a lot of curves, but I decided to just keep it medium sized. So you'll see here in just a second, I'm going to make it much thicker. So I talked about how you can press Alt S to scale individual vertices, or multiple at once if you want. But you can also press Ctrl T to tilt the curve, and you'll see me doing that quite a lot. So as you can see here, I'm positioning the actual curve itself on top of the sculpted hair that we made. And the sculpted hair is going to be just like a guide on how it's going to look. Now right here, I just did a small cut. I just readjusted the hair to be a little bit wider and just a different shape. And now I'm just readjusting the actual strand itself. So then I go into object mode, duplicate the hair, go into edit mode, move it behind. And right there, I just tilted the curve by pressing Ctrl T. And then I duplicate another one, and we're gonna do that a couple more times until the hair is fully, fully done. Now you can see here that there's certain parts that are clipping inside of the sculpted hair. And that's totally fine. You don't have to worry about it too much. The sculpted hair is there just to guide us. You don't have to follow it strictly. So right there, I just selected 2 vertices, right-clicked, and then I clicked on Subdivide to just subdivide it so we can have another vertex right there to give us a little bit more curvature. One thing I kind of forgot to mention earlier is that I've purposefully disabled merging on the mirror modifier for the curves, because later down the line that can make some weird results, so just keep that in mind. It's not necessarily bad if you leave it, but I like to avoid any future problems ahead of time. So here I just pressed SX0 to scale it along the X to align it so it's all straight. To make it easier to position the hair properly. So that's pretty much the back hair done. Now we're going to start working at the front part. So there I just pressed, once again, S, X, and then 0 to align the X-axis. And I also did Alt-T, which clears any tilt if the curve has any tilt. If it doesn't, then it's not going to do anything. So there I just made the tip, not small, just, made it bigger. And I also selected the checkbox where it says fill caps to, fill in that hole that's there by default. I have also gotten rid of the mirror modifier because the front part of her hair is not symmetrical, so we're gonna have to place all of them manually, one by one. So here I just hid the actual sculpt so I can kind of see what I'm doing. But in a second I'll bring it back. Here I decided to add another strand here, but ultimately I decided to just undo it. So basically this piece of strand right here is very important. It's going to basically act as like fake thickness to the hair. Now here I was looking at the inner part of the hair, and I decided, you know what, I want the inner parts of the hair to look the same as the outer parts, or they need to be, similar. They don't have to be super samey, but kind of similar. So I just went into the hair shape and just did that, and as you can see here, the inner parts of the hair looks almost the same as the outer parts. I do believe now we're going to start working on the flyaways. Basically, flyaways are pieces of strand hair that are flying away, quote unquote, from the actual main density of the hair. And this is going to give you basically the biggest personality when it comes to your hair. These little guys, they're fun to make, and they do quite a lot of work in terms of detail and just general coolness. Now you tend to have a bunch of these dudes all over your hair, but I decided to just kind of keep it simple for this tutorial once again. Didn't want to put too many. So here and there, a couple of here, a couple of there, you get a nice design. Basically, to create flyaways, you just select the closest hair strand that you want to duplicate it. Go into edit mode, select the vertices, Alt S to make them small and thin, and just kind of pull it away from the main hair. Keep the root obviously where it is, but the tips and the rest of the hair, just kind of pull it out. Change the shape as you like, and do that a bunch of times. You can also duplicate a flyaway hair to create another one. That's also a valid option. And there you have it. The hair is done, and now we're going to move on to the rigging. So I use the Rigify rig. I spawn it in. I click on the bone group representing the head. Go into edit mode, delete all those head bones. I don't need them, I don't use them. Then I bring back all the bones. In object mode, I scale it up. Once I've scaled it up, I apply all transforms. Go into edit mode, select the torso bones group. Enable symmetry, of course. And I start moving them like this. Same thing for the arm bones. I select them, I kind of rotate them along the X and then scale them down so they're flat. Then I rotate them back again. Position them where they're supposed to be. If you're wondering why I'm rotating, scaling, and stuff like that for that, it's mostly because I'm just aligning them so they're, easier to place. So here I'm going to grab the tips of the arm and the shoulder bone and kind of, connect them up. The way you do that, you just select those tips and you press S0 and they will just connect up. And once I do that, I kind of position them where it's supposed to be. Now here, as you can see here, the leg bones are straight along the X-axis. And because my actual leg itself that I modeled, or I should say sculpted and then retopologized, is also straight, they align properly. So I don't have to, maneuver things around. All I have to do is just kind of position them right here along the Z and along the Y. The X is already pretty much done. So here I'm just adjusting the toes and the heel bone. Moving a little bit forward. Decided to just move him a little bit to the left. As you can see here, because I'm using symmetry, the other leg is automatically placed, so I only have to work on one side. So here I just enabled snap mode, but as you can see here, it's not your regular face snap. It's actually, it snaps to the center of volume. So the way I position the fingers, first I kind of do like a rough, just snap to kind of get them in place, and then I do an actual proper positioning. The biggest advice I can give you when it comes to hands is that you want all the bones for the fingers themselves to be straight, so that when the actual fingers themselves bend, they bend properly. And you'll see me straightening them in just a couple of moments. There you go, they're now properly positioned. So I think we're first going to actually move all the bones so that the Rigify knows in which way to bend the fingers, because you don't want to accidentally Rigify, bending them in the wrong direction. So just, move them up like this so that Rigify knows, oh wait, they're supposed to be, bending in the, as they usually bend IRL. Make sure that you disable, obviously, the volume snap when you're doing this. So here I'm selecting all the bones and I'm pressing SY0 to scale them so they're straight, and then I'm just rotating them by pressing R. And this will make sure that they bend properly. So we did 2 steps. We moved the bones up so that Rigify knows in which way the bones are supposed to bend, and we also scale them so that they're straight. So when they're actually bend, they bend properly. So here, because my thumb is a little bit wonky in terms of rotation, instead of pressing SY0, I press SX0, and then I just manually kind of move them around. And there we go, we're done with the fingers. So at this point, just double check to see everything looks good. Go into object mode. Once again, just apply all transforms just in case, and then there's a button where it says generate rig. Click on that, hide the original meta rig. Don't delete it, you might need it later down the line. But yeah, now we actually have the actual rig. So right here, you see I'm pointing it there in the bottom right corner where it says layers. Click on that layer, select all the hair, face, eyes, brows, stuff there, and then parent it to the actual head bone. Now if you're wondering how did I parent it, well, basically I just went into pose mode after selecting that layer, then I selected the head bone, and then I parented it there. Now I did a similar thing here with the body. What I did there was I selected the body, then I selected the rig, and then I pressed Ctrl P, and then I parented to the actual rig by using automatic weights. Now automatic weights, as you can see here, they're not good, so we have to weight paint that stuff. So as you can see here, I'm just clicking the bone, and then I'm using the gradient tool to weight paint. Now if you're wondering how am I selecting these bones right here? Well, the way you do that is you first select the skeleton, and then you select the body, and then you go into weight paint mode by pressing Ctrl Tab, and then you can just click on the bone by holding left Control and then clicking the bone, and that will allow you to select the actual bones like this. So just make sure, once again, first you click on the skeleton, then you click on the body, and then you go into weight paint mode. So as you can see here, I just used a mask there to weight paint the booba bone. You just go into edit mode, select the part that you want to mask, then go back into weight paint mode, And there's a button that you saw me press in the top left corner to just enable the mask. Now when it comes to weight painting for my personal models, it doesn't need to be perfect because most of the models that I make are just, there to stand still in a pose. I'm not doing any animations or stuff like that. So it doesn't have to be, the weight painting doesn't have to be perfect. Now, here I'm demonstrating that. You see here how this weight painting is all like jaggedy like this? That's a no-no. You're gonna have some bad deformations. So you have to smooth out these weights. So the way you do that, you just click there where it says weights and then smooth. Select all groups. That means basically all weights. And then here I just chose to do it 10 times in a row. And as you can see here, now the weights are smooth. And this does it for all the groups. I'm just demonstrating that, for example, the booba bones are all smooth. Everything down here, it just smooths it out. Now you don't want to smooth too much stuff. Usually I just go for like 10 times and that should be good enough. So I think at this point, I was thinking about the bra. Yes. If you're wondering, the bra? Yeah. Well, this character is going to wear a bra. And as you know, bras have this feature that they push the boobas together. And as you can see here, for my character, the boobas are kind of like just relaxed and they're not pushed together. So I need to make them pushed before I, make the actual outfit. So I'm doing that right now using a rig that we created. So I'm just, rotating them in, kind of squishing them together. And basically what I'm going to do at the end is once I'm, happy with the actual new shape, I'm going to create a shape key out of that. Now if you're wondering what's the deal with this group that I made, it's basically a mask for the rig. If you go to the rig modifier, you can tell the rig, you know what, I want you to only mask a certain portion of the body where the rig is going to influence. Everything else, it's not going to get moved. So right here, I just made a mask for the boobas because I only want them to move. And then once I'm happy with it, I'm going to show you how to make that change into a shape key. So first you have to get rid of the mirror. So you can either apply it or get rid of it. I think I chose to get rid of it, yeah. Then you click on the drop-down menu and click where it says Save as Shape Key. This will just save it. Then you can get rid of this vertex group. We don't need it anymore. It can also go into the actual rig and then clear all the changes that we did. So we're back to the original mesh. Put the mirror back on. You can rename the new shape key to whatever you want. And now, as you can see here, this is our original booba. And then once you enable the shape key, we see our new shape. So by using shape keys, it allows us to keep the original, but also have this new shape as well. This is useful, for example, if, let's say your character has this bra, and then later on you decide to take off the bra, then you can have this original shape key where the boobas are kind of loose. So you're probably wondering, okay, what's this? Well, this is going to be our hair material and our skin material. So here I'm just demonstrating how it looks. So right here, the principal BSDF. And then you have this group node. And inside the group node, this is a setup. I'm going to zoom in here in a couple of moments so you can, take screenshots and like copy it over if you want. You don't really need to understand what these things do. It's basically just a bunch of nodes combined together in like a Photoshop layer system. So as you can see here, I'm just changing that slider right there. That's basically the opacity slider. You can think of them as like Photoshop layers stacked on top of each other for the skin material. Basically the whole material procedural. You can change all the colors for the AO, for the AO and for the shades. You can also bypass the principal BSDF and just plug it immediately into the material output node. And that will allow you to kind of create this like toon shader. So here I just clicked on the eyelashes. I gave them a new material and I'm just changing all the colors individually. I decided to, make them black, so the main color is going to be this like silverish dark, color, and then the shade is all going to be just black. Now here comes the behemoth of the materials. This is the hair material. Once again, I'm not even going to try to explain half of this stuff. So I'm just going to zoom in, and you can individually just take a screenshot or just try to copy it over. Basically right here, these are the main colors that you want to change, and these are all just quote-unquote layers stacked on top of each other. So here I'm just zooming in. Feel free to copy this over. You will see these like mix nodes, and you will see like, for example, two colors. One of them is white, and that's pure white. That's just go pure white. It has to be pure white. And then the other color, usually you can change. I will show you what I mean in just a second. But here I'm just, showing you what's connecting to what. So yeah, just spend a couple of moments here demonstrating how this looks. This slider right here that I'm messing around is basically the toon slider. If you enable that slider, then your hair kind of becomes this like toon shaded style. So here I'm just demonstrating you can change the colors. This is like your main color. Originally I was planning to make this character kind of darker haired with like blue hair. That's going to be like kind of this dark blue, but then I ultimately decided to kind of make her this blondish, kind of blonde, like desaturated blonde, something between that, silver. So all these sliders here that I'm changing around, these are all the sliders that you can use. For example, this color here that I'm changing, that's for the tip. So if you want your tip to be, a different color, you can do that. There's also one for the root. If you want your root to be, I don't know, green or purple, you can do that if you want. So I think at this point, I am actually starting to kind of get the actual color that I want. So over here, I'm going to enable a slider, and this is going to give you that like hair strand detail. And then you can change the color of that detail if you want. Now here I'm going to give the actual eyebrows themselves this same material that I'm using for the hair. But guess what? As I just showed right there in the texture coordinates, I plugged in the UV node, into the rest of the material. Any mesh that wants to use this material has to have UVs. UV unwrapped the browse, and then I moved the UVs around to get the desired look. So here I imported the eyes themselves, the actual eyes that we're going to use for the model, and then I just positioned them around in object mode. Then I applied all the transforms. Now just ignore these eye bones. This is just something that I have for my own eyes, but I never ended up using these for the actual final render, so you can just totally ignore them. They're basically used for eye tracking, so that the eyes track the camera. So let's say you're moving around the camera, the eyes are always going to look at the camera. But I'm not going to be showing you how to set up this thing in this tutorial. So right here, you're probably wondering what I'm doing. This is the iris of the actual eye, and you can see here it's kind of bad. She's kind of looking, she's gonna go crazy. I'm going crazy. She's going psycho mode. So here I'm just making the actual thing a little bit bigger, and then I think here in just a couple of moments after I delete this thing, because we don't need it anymore, so just it's gone. In a couple of moments I'm gonna just reveal everything, and then just grab the bones and the eyeshadow and just move it up a little bit so that the actual eyes themselves look, Now if you have this same problem that I did where your character is kind of looking psycho, just make your irises a little bit bigger. Now here, oh well, there you go, it's gone. But if you pause the video, that was the actual eye material for the iris. So just go back, check it out. I just quickly showed it. So here I'm just doing the nails. So I just grabbed a skin material, renamed it. I selected my nails, and then I assigned them to this nails material, and then I changed them to pink, because why not? But yeah, just to go back to on what I was saying, if you ever have those eyes that are looking kind of, crazy, just make sure, the irises themselves a little bit bigger. Not too big, but yeah. And also add the eyeshadow that I have here on my eyes. It's basically just a plane that has a little bit of transparency. And yeah, that will make your character look much better. So here I'm adding some makeup. So the way I do makeup is using Vertex Paint. Press Ctrl Tab and then go into Vertex Paint mode. Here I'm using like a black and white mask. Basically the black part, it represents where the actual, lips makeup is going to be. Then here we're going to add a Vertex Vertex Paint node, Vertex Color node. Add two Mix RGBs. The top one is going to be Mix, the bottom one is going to be Multiply. Change the factor to be 1. Make the bottom color just pure white, and then the top color is going to be the actual color of your lipstick makeup. So you can make it kind of like a rose pink, or you can make it like the natural kind of orangish, or you can make it whatever you want. So I think we're going to do the same thing here for the blush, right? Yeah, it's the blush. So you see here that my blush vertex colors were already, they copied the same data as for the lips. So basically just clear that out as I did. And then you can start painting the new quote-unquote layer, I guess. Once again, it's going to be a black and white mask. To copy this setup right here, you just press, select it and then Shift D. Change the vertex color to be the blush. And then change the color of the actual blush to be whatever you want. So basically, you can kind of think of it as like, once again, Photoshop layers. Here I'm just adjusting the blush because I didn't like it, how it looked. And here the factor, once again, is like the opacity slider. You can change it to 0 if you don't want to see it, or change it to 0.8 or 0.9 or 1, to suit your needs. So now we're going to do that eye makeup. Clear out the previous group. Here, once again, going to edit mode, and then kind of creating this like mask where I'm going to paint. Duplicate the setup again, Shift D. Daisy chain it. And I think I'm ended up making this like this dark red. Kind of like a rose red, dark red. You can see the before and after. Now you don't have to use vertex paint for makeup. You can just use regular image textures if you want and do some texture painting. But I prefer to use vertex paint because I find this to be easier and cooler. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're done with the video. Time flies. In the next video, we're going to be making the outfit and, lights and camera, stuff like that, posing the character. So yeah, take care everybody, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.